This is the Freeheel Life podcast, episode number 97. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Freeheel Life shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. And welcome back, my friends, Freeheel Lifers, telemarketers alike. It's great to have you here, and thanks for checking in like you do every Monday to listen to the podcast and see what's going on. So the biggest items of newsroom and notes is really just that the shop's opening on October 9th. So I know the boys can't wait to get everybody back in the shop, see some familiar faces, and start talking about snow and dropping knees all over the place. So if you need to get a hold of anybody ahead of time, hit up customer service at freeheellife.com, and we will for sure get back to you. So blood's flowing around here. We're starting to feel it. It's getting colder, and finally starting to have to turn the heat on in the mornings for work. So the time is near. So today I've got two wonderful guests that I'm super excited to have on the show. They're a father and son duo that I met through the shop many, many years ago. And I think the podcast itself does a great job of telling the story. So let's get into it. Please welcome Justin and Miles Shaffer. All right, guys. Welcome to the podcast. How's it going?
Good.
Nice. Good to have you guys here. I'm stoked. This has kind of been a long time coming because I've wanted to get Miles. I wanted to get you on the podcast for a while. It seemed to make sense. Maybe despite what I'm sure you wanted to like be on the podcast by yourself, but here's your dad. So,
I mean, he's what got me into it. So It's only right.
I figured that was it. There's a good story behind this whole thing, and this seems to be a theme though. Like I've got like. This is like number 2 or 3 father-son telemark duos. So maybe this is we're going to have like a whole playlist of father-son telemark duos. So, but yeah, this kind of starts with you, Justin, and meeting you. And first, before we get into the telemark stuff, tell us a little bit about where you're from. Let's get a little background here. I'm setting the stage.
Yeah, so I'm an 801 kid, born and raised here in Utah. Grew up wanting to ski, wanting to snowboard. This is early 90s. Everybody, all friends, everybody was on the hill. I had to beg, borrow, steal, convince my mom it was a good idea. Not growing up, with a lot of money, dad being a carpenter, working his tail off. It was everything I could do to get my mom to understand how important, at the time, a snowboard was to get up on the hill with friends. And I somehow pulled that off. I made it convincing enough that by 15, night skiing at Brighton with the 2-for-1, that got me on the mountain. Off and on, really from there, it was 15. I could work, I could make my own money. By 16, I could drive if I could borrow the car, and the rest is, however hard you want to work, go make your money and do your thing. So that got me on the mountain, and that got me, snowboarding. Back then snowboarding was the craze. It was the thing to do. I had some friends that skied who, graciously took us everywhere. I have a vivid memory of being turned away. I think it's Solitude, because it was not a snowboard day. This was way back. We had to then go.
Did they have an actual day?
It was. We showed up and it was not the day to snowboard for some reason. I just remember going, what the heck? So, that was my draw to skiing. It was just that. So fast forward a little bit. That snowboard craze, that piece was just for at the time it was the young thing to do. So once you get married, once you have maybe a kid or two, the snowboarding thing, I just stopped going. I stopped going because it wasn't the thing to do. You had a steady job, it wasn't cool to be around that crowd. That was still the party, drinking, smoking kind of group. And a buddy of mine who I fish with still to today said, you need to come ski with us. You need to put skis on. So that was early 2000s. I switched to skis. And then from there, that just opened the door to then run into ski friends, and then ultimately running into coworkers and a few really good friends of mine that were on tele skis. And the very first time I saw really up close what was going on there, or I could pick their brain on what these tele skis are, were, that just intrigued me like crazy. I'm a person of of say tradition, of the story, and I had to do it. Still to this day, I'm not good at it. I struggle. I love going with you guys to at least look and see how it's supposed to be done. But that was the draw. A couple of guys just, hey, you want to jump on this? That's cool. Let's find you some used gear. Go start finding something. And so that's where the story of me running into Josh happens. And it was about 6 or 7 phone calls to shops. I mean, we're talking Black Diamond, we're a few of these places, and nobody had used tele gear. And finally, the last guy I called said, "You need to call Josh." And I said, "Who's Josh?" And he says, "He's the guy who's buying up all the used tele gear in the valley. You need to call this guy." And so that's when I reached out to you. That had to have been either the first season of the shop, or
I was trying to remember that. Like, that probably was the first season, and I distinctly remember you coming in, because I think I remember you were at Black Diamond. There was 2 of you guys. Like, it must have been the first year, because, like, what size boot do you wear?
The biggest
32,
one.
right?
The biggest one.
Right. Yeah. So you wear a 32 Mondo, which is like what?
14.
Yeah, size 14. And I think there was 2 of you that around that same time, and you guys both were looking for T races, I remember. And like, I can't remember if it was you or the other guy, but somebody, I think Black Diamond store wouldn't order the boot in for anybody to try on. And so like 2 guys, you and this other guy, Adam, ended up here. And I mean, that's how we got a lot of business. Like, they would just, "Hey, you need to come down to this shop." And you're probably like, "What?" I mean, that was early days, which is crazy. So real quick, so you didn't grow, like, your family doesn't ski?
No, even to this day, I'm literally the black sheep, which is totally fine. But yeah, I'm the only one that skis. Yeah, there's a lot of things that, I mean, I'm the only one that fishes. I'm the only one that does a lot of that. And I don't know where I got it from. I have no idea. My parents don't ski. Their parents don't ski.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a draw. It was, I remember the first couple of turns, even on the snowboard, I was just like, it's amazing, what the potential was there. And it wasn't maybe the vehicle that I was on, so to speak, but it was just that sense of freedom. And at the same time, I mean, you're coming into, working, making your own money, kind of doing your own thing, and you're trying to figure out who you are. Yeah. And at that same time, my parents we move across the valley. So I literally at sophomore high school get transplanted into a whole new, high school, friends, neighborhood, everything. And so that was another piece that kind of helped kind of get through that piece was, hey, I got the snowboarding thing to do. And looking back, I think and with most things in life, there's a progression. You can progress however you want that progression to go, but it's starting at one point and going, to another, be it this to tele, or, alpine to tele, or snowboard to ski. It doesn't really matter. What it is the direction you're headed and why you're heading in that direction. Yeah. So for me, it was just that, being on the mountain, something to do in the winter, skiing, being with friends, and ultimately just kind of just having that sense of, you're in control of yourself. You can be as good as you want. You can, what you want to learn on, who you want to hang out with. It was that piece. So yeah, it's crazy. It's really hard. Miles and I have discussion. We'll be at, my dad's house or whatnot, and he has no idea what we're talking about. So it's interesting to have a conversation when, we're so into it so much that, Miles has made this a part of his career, and but they embrace it. They love that we're doing something, and they see the joy that Miles and my younger son Finn have. It's wonderful. It's a good thing. But
yeah, that's awesome. I know. I think about, because you grew up in Bountiful, which is just north of Salt Lake. For those of you that aren't from around here, where'd you move to on the west side? Did you move to the west side?
No, we moved from there. So
you moved. Oh, so you were on the west side of the valley here, and then moved to Bountiful.
We were like first scary Magna people that didn't belong in Magna.
Oh, that's right. You were from Magna. That's crazy. Cypress High School, baby.
Cypress, yeah. So I have a lot of just experiences out there, but that timing is the tough part. You look at moving, when's a good time to move your family? Well, probably never.
Yeah.
But the second worst time is probably when your kids are going from middle school to
That's a big change too back then. For people that are not, because you and I are about the same age, and we've talked about this. I mean, it's like the west side, that makes it sound like super gangster. But like the west side, I mean, you get the Magna of all places, like back then in the 90s. I mean, that was way out there. Yeah. Like there wasn't a whole lot between like here, where in Salt Lake, and then Magna was like, there's like another set of mountains over there people don't know about, So no, that's awesome. Well, that's cool that you kind of broke out, and I distinctly remember night skiing 2 for 1, Brighton 4 for 1. Did you ever ditch school? And this is the old man stuff we're talking about here, Miles. Brighton was the best back then, because that's where I grew up skiing. And if you took like cans of food on like a Wednesday, do you remember that?
Oh yeah, you get the chili that you didn't want to eat at home. You just drop that off, and I mean, we were skiing for like $8. I mean, it was super cheap. Yeah,
I think I did that a couple times in high school, but
they still had that.
Yeah, they did that my junior year or senior year, I think.
Yeah, no, that's not happening ever again. Show up with cans of food for a cheap lift ticket. Well, now you can't even find a parking spot, so that's funny. Well, so I guess Miles, like growing up, so he breaks the mold, the family mold. So, I mean, did you always grow up I don't even know if I know this. Did you always grow up skiing?
No.
Or snowboarding?
I mean, I probably skied a couple of times when I was little. There's some photos in our house of me wearing some terrible goggles and an old terrible helmet that I don't even remember. I was probably like 8 or 10 years old. That was probably my first time skiing. And really after that, I didn't ski a lot. I kind of transitioned into hockey a lot. I mean, I was busy pretty much every day from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. playing hockey from 13, 14 years old till really senior year of high school. Senior year of high school, I think my dad got me the Learn and Earn pass at Snow Basin, where you get the gear and you get to have a couple lessons and ski. And that was kind of really when I fell in love with skiing, I think. I never really was around it, and my friends always were, and I was always just too busy. And I think to kind of learn it at such a later age kind of made me realize, like, wow, why have I not been doing this forever, was my biggest thing. And then, yeah, I mean, high school, I was on an alpine setup for half a year, and then I would always go up with my dad, and he was always doing these weird turns, and his boots looked more comfortable and all this stuff. And I was kind of like, I should try that. And that's how I met you. I came into the shop with my dad one day, and I asked if you had a setup I could ski, and you pretty much said you could ski this, but you have to sell all your gear. I remember specifically you were kind of like, that's yeah, funny. Sure, but you got to sell your gear. And it was funny. I swear I got new boots like a day before I came in.
Oh, I remember that actually.
Like, I had a brand new boots, skis. My buddy sold me an old pair of skis I was so stoked on, and then I was like, I kind of want to tell you. And you were like, oh, you got to sell your stuff. Kind of as a joke.
Because I think they were all, you had a bunch of park skiing friends, if I remember
right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was, I never really got into the park. I mean, I skied with them a lot, but it was more of, I wanted to do something different than everyone else that was skiing. And that was kind of why I was drawn to the tele ski. It's kind of, I mean, seeing my dad do it, I wanted to do it because he did it.
You guys have totally similar personalities that way. Because well, one thing, it's interesting that you're a hockey player, because what's so fascinating to me is all you guys working here now. Most of you guys played hockey. All of you guys golf.
Yep.
And the thing with you two that's interesting too is you guys are like avid fly fishermen, which like there's a common trait here of, like Justin said it. I mean, it's like, I think, yeah, like you said, you're like the black sheep of the family, but you gravitate to this stuff. It seems like that's sort of different, you know? And I remember talking to you about fly fishing, because obviously you're always like, you got to come fly fishing, which I still have not done. But like, what do you guys think it is? Like, I'm just curious, like, what do you guys think it is about those things? Like, what is the similarity of, well, I mean, I kind of have an idea, but I'm kind of curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this.
We need to correct something a little bit. But when Miles says Josh made the deal that he had to sell his gear, that stems back from when I ran into Josh, and so let's finish that piece of the story, which would go right into Miles here. Is I can't remember this guy's name. You need to call this guy Josh. He's got the used tele gear. So I called this Josh, whoever Josh is. I'm going to call him up. I got to figure this out. He said, "Hey, it'd just be better if you come down to the shop. We got a shop." I remember just the shop. So I think it was that first year. I think there was so much.
Because I had nothing going on.
No.
No, I literally didn't. That's the thing. Like keep going.
So I come down and you know, we hit it off right off the bat. You know, a lot in common is as far as, you know, growing up in Utah, our age is fairly similar. But the piece that I think you were surprised about. Well, I walk in the door and Josh has got a ski tech apron on. He's got, I think music was playing in the back. I think you were everything. You were the front door guy. You were you were tuning some skis. I mean, you were doing everything, answering the phone. And I walk in, I just said, "Hey, I just need some tele gear." And you at first said, "Well, do you need some boots? Do you need some?" I said, "No, I need everything." And I was committed right then and there to pull off alpine stuff off the skis I had. I had some old Gatamas. And you're like, you're serious. You're in for this. I said, "Yeah." And not knowing, you know, what was ahead of me, but I knew enough that again, being around it and seeing that it's a piece that you need to earn, and it's one of those things that you're going to get out what you put into that technique or style of skiing. I was sold. I was sold before I even found used tele gear, and so that's where it came from. I think, you know, part of that was me committing full on. I'm not going to run two setups. You know, me being cheap. That's one piece of it. But the other part of it was like, I don't have time for that. I want to jump right in. I don't care if I'm going to, you know, maybe piss away a season trying to figure this out. I just knew that if I paid my dues and I got in, it was going to pay off. So I think that comment stems a little bit from that, to where it was Josh kind of saying to Miles, you know, "Hey, you don't get to run two setups. You know, this is, you know, you got to sell that stuff to run tele." So it's making that full jump in commitment.
Yeah, for sure. And what's funny about hearing that is, like, I feel like those guys like you that came in early, I mean, we would like talk for hours.
Oh yeah.
Like no one would even come in the shop. Like it would just be like talk, and we would talk and we would just talk. And I think there was definitely a lot more of that. It sounds like there's a common theme of me telling you to not do anything but tele. There's a later story for you too about jazz, because I think that's a funny one too.
Oh yeah.
But
yep.
No, but that's and that really was how it was, because I remember you coming in, we just talk, and I do, now that you're bringing that up, I do remember you kind of just, I think I was surprised that you just wanted to start telemarking, and you just literally just bought a setup and like started doing it. Like it wasn't like you were like, hey, I don't even know if we had rentals back then, to be honest. But
no, I think you had some used gear. You were kind of like, I think you were a little hesitant on just, the cost or just something starting right over from where I came from. And it was, I feel it was a bit of me convincing you, I'm down with this. I'm okay. This is something I'm going to go do. And I think it was just the timing, the me looking for gear for maybe a month or two prior of just calling this guy or going to this plate again. I mean, you had the market cornered on that you.
Oh yeah, I bought all Play It Again stuff. That's funny too. I forgot about that one.
But you couldn't find any. So I think for me, I was coming in maybe a little more. I've been looking for this stuff. It's time. It's go time. Let's make this happen. And again, I got buddies. Pete, Brad. I mean, they just have been telling for so long, and just their attitude around somebody wanting to try it. Never forced on anybody, but then somebody jumping in, they're like, hey, jump in and go. And, but there's a bit of, that earn. You're going to have to earn it. Earn your turns a little bit there. And not just, an uphill hike. You got to figure it out. That click has to happen for I think everybody. And it's different times. It's a different turn. It could be different terrain. But I think that's one common piece when you're picking this tele technique up is that. And but yeah, I was in 100%.
Yeah,
right from the get go.
You dove in, and because you got a couple buddies, you're saying that's kind of what sparked the interest though,
Yeah, no, in particular Pete, he's been in the shop a little bit. Just, hey, get some skins, you can go hike. There was a little versatility there, but it was also just skiing a little lower, just seeing the flow. There's a little flow to this skiing. And not that I'd ever been a great alpine skier, but I'd skied on some skis and had, you go to you skiing 10, 12 days a year with buddies. And, it got to the point where, to get better is you just now are skiing bigger stuff. It's kind of where I felt. You could handle yourself. Most resorts here in Utah, you could go most places and ski. What was the next challenge? What's going to push you? And just seeing those guys ski, just watching them ski, and not from the chairlift, right? Everybody sees that guy and they're like, wow, that actually looks pretty flowy. There's a little bit of rhythm. This is skiing behind these guys. This is skiing next to these guys. If you're that guy and you're constantly around that, seeing that, it's a little more athletic, a little lower. I think all those things helped. They made sense. All the pieces of that technique, led me to why do you telly? Where did telly come from? What's this whole dead talk of this telly stuff, right? It's going away. It leads into all that kind of conversation, and so it was just natural for me to dig in a little bit and learn about the turn, learn about why. Another convincing piece that I did that not a lot of people know is I'm one of the very few that got Madsen on the mountain.
That's hard to do.
Very hard to do.
I did go to Basin with you that one day, I remember.
And it was, hey, I got to get back for a meeting, or you had something else going on. I think we ran 2 laps. Hey, here's some stuff and go. And I think that's the day about an hour after you leave, like I crashed so hard, I think I separated my shoulder and, I leave the mountain with, my tail between my legs and, but just still just smiling, just knowing that turn is itching to figure its way out.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And Miles, like when you went, like since you started when you were younger, cause how old were you? Like 18?
I was like probably 17 or 18.
Like, what was that like starting with? Because this is something I always like to ask younger guys too, is if all your buddies are alpine skiers and all of a sudden you jump ship and you're like, hey, I'm going to do this Telemark thing. Like, were your friends cool with it? Were they not cool with it? Were they like, why are you doing this? You're going to go slow now.
I mean, that was they all kind of were like, why are you doing that? Why was probably the big question is, you can't ski as fast. You can't do this. And I was always like, I don't care. I want to do this. I want to do it this way. It looks fun. And, Yeah, I mean, starting late too was, I mean, I started skiing late. I've tele skied now longer than I alpine skied by far, which is, I mean, like I was only on the alpine setup for a year and a half. Tele now for 4 or 5 seasons. So, and it was, if I'm going to get good at alpine skiing, why not start on the Telemark setup and get better at that? Was kind of, I mean, so, and it was always fun. I mean, it was always kind of cool, you know, a random kid joins us or hangs out with us. It's like, what is wrong with your setup? Why are you skiing like that? Or, you know, random stuff. Or it was like, you can't hit rails on that. I was like, you can, it's the same, or, you know, stuff like that. And I always just thought that was cool. And I mean, it was really, I saw a lot of the content from you, and Andres was probably one of the bigger people I was watching a lot of. Him and Dayberry back then was, you know, it was cool to see them doing stuff like that on the tele skis. And that was kind of what made me really want to go into it. So
just that visual of like seeing that stuff could actually be done on the park, features
just
and
anything,
stuff like that.
Like, I mean, big mountain stuff or park, or, you know, just the cruiser groomer at the bottom of the run, and really anything. Is it was always kind of like, for me, it was more than the skiing. It was kind of that motion, and just felt better, I think. I don't know.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
yeah, I guess, see, I like stories like that, because it wasn't, I feel like starting at that age and all your friends are alpine skiing or snowboarding, like sometimes the peer pressure, or not, I don't even know if it's peer pressure, but it's like not having other people do it. That seems like,
oh yeah,
it
was definitely weird. Like, I mean, there were some times in my senior year of high school, we had a huge group of people we'd go ski with, like 15, 20 kids up at Basin every Saturday and Sunday. And I had Black Diamond 75 boots and some old G3 bindings, and it was, hold on guys, I got to put my boots on and put my skis on and make sure everything was good. And that was probably the only thing I remember. But as far as everything else, I mean, they were pretty good friends to be able to support me on that, I guess, is, you know, letting me do that. And it's actually been pretty cool. A couple of them have tried it and kind of been like, oh yeah, I see why you do it. And one of my buddies actually bought a tele setup last year because he tried it and was like, oh yeah, this is rad. So
that's awesome,
which is cool. But
well, it seems like there's a commonality that I forced both of you to sell your setups, or I guess your dad just kind of did it. But that's funny that I mean, it seems like it makes it go faster too. I mean, honestly, I think back to like when I started way back in the day, and it's like the real change didn't happen until I literally was just doing the Telemark stuff, because I just think that focus, it helps, because then you're not just going out when it's a bad day, or you know, you're skiing with your friends and you got to keep up. You know, it's like when you force yourself to have to do it, you just get better faster. I mean, you're a perfect example. Like, I wouldn't think you've teleed 4 years, because now you're skiing with all the boys from the shop.
Oh, it's even worse now. It's trying to keep up with Tay and Nate down there is complete different ball game.
Yeah,
some of the stuff that we've skied. But no, I think it definitely has made me a better skier. I mean, I think one of the first day Baldy opened last season, I was like, I was terrified. It's like, there's no way I'm skiing
Baldy chute.
It was like they were like, main chute open, let's go, let's get on the lift. And I was like, no way, I'm gonna die. Like, this is terrifying. And I mean, I did it. I mean, I'm a fairly good tele skier for the couple of years that I've been on. Great. I think being pushed to ski better with these kids is what makes you better. So,
are you better than your dad?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh man.
I know, you see, that's the problem as we get older, is like you get your kid into something and then they just end up being better than you. So
in my mind, I'm such a good tele skier. And then, I convinced Miles, hey, you need to go down at the bottom and, record some of this. And then he shows me what he records, and I said, no, that's not the same video. Where's the video of me skiing down? He goes, this is the same video. And I'm like, that looks awful. Like that's not even it. But it does kind of lead into how everybody's a little different. Miles' style is different than mine, is different than yours, Josh. I think that's another fun piece of this is there's so many minute dialects, if you want to call them that, on technique with their styles. And Miles is a low tele skier.
Oh yeah, he's a low smoker for sure.
He loves that, and he's. I just remember laughing. He comes home and I was like, well, you've got these. You've been convinced that these knee pads are something that you need to ski, and I said, you've been hanging around Josh too much. This is not good. But he does. He's just has that low technique. And looking at some of the photos or how I ski, I think it's a little bit of I'm a little bit lower tele skier as well. But that's the fun part of it. It's you develop a bit of that technique is your own and what feels good to you. And I as part of that progression I was mentioning earlier, I think you progress, you find out, the fly fishing I'm doing now is different than 20 years ago. And it's part of that progression. The fish I chase now are not the same fish I was chasing, 20 years ago. And it's part of that progression. It's part of what you build on and how you're moving forward.
So now you brought the fly fish. I got to ask though, what is it about fly fishing and Telemark? Is there a relationship? This is what I'm trying to dig into right now. I'm just curious. There might not be a relationship, but to me, it seems like it's kind of like alpine skiing to me is like if I show up, you're like, hey, let's go fishing, and you guys are all fly fishermen, and I show up with like a spinning rod. You're like, and I've got like a rooster tail on, and I'm like, hey guys, what's up?
Yeah,
and I've got like waders on, but I've got a spinning rod, and you're gonna be like, yeah, man, like that's gonna be fun, and you're like trying to stoke me out, but like it's just not the same. There's like this like you said, there's a progression, there's a technique, there's this never ending. To me, that's what I see. And I can toss a fly rod decently. I got an okay roll cast, like nothing too serious, but it just, to me, I see a lot of similarities there because it's sort of culty, if you will.
Yeah. So no, 100%. There's a piece of that. For me, and I'll maybe try to describe on how it makes sense to me. Back to having some history. Back to the story is important for me and the things I do, and try to break that down a little bit. Fly fishing is one of those sports that you're going to, again, get what you put in. You're going to get that back out of it, and it's about being in that moment. So there's a part of the turn when you're skiing, when you make that, real good run, or you're in that one powder day that sums up your season for you. The fishing is kind of similar to that. You can be on the river and have that same experience of being in the moment and chasing that. And those things don't come easy. Those things take a lot of preparation, a lot of practice, a lot of time, a lot of screwing up, a lot of mistakes. But when those things culminate and come together, I think that's for me the common thread is that you find those things in your life that you're going to dedicate your life to, and you can't do everything. You can't be the best or even good at more than a handful of things. So you find those things that mean something to you or have some of that story, and for me that's the piece that kind of connects the two. And it's part about that. Part of it is the dedication. Madsen is you're dedicated. You've got this on your body. You've got this in your blood, and that to me is the thread between that. I think there's a lot of similarities with the people I fish with. They have that open attitude. You can show up with your spin rod, no problem. Will we drink and talk about you later? Maybe, but you still talk about the alpine guy you skied with, or it's that group of guys. I think it's one of those things that there are a few things in life, or should I say, there the things in life that have that underlining camaraderie or brotherhood they're sparse and you have to find them. But when you find them, it's an agreed thing. It's a tangible. Hey, we don't care what car you drive. We don't care what where you work. We care that you fish or that you telly.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Do you feel, Miles? Do you feel that it's interesting? It's interesting having you both here because you kind of got into Telemark at similar times, and I can obviously remember being young and telemarking, although that was a long, long time ago. So I kind of relate to what your dad's saying. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just as you get older, like you said, you don't have time for everything, and so then you start picking these things that you're like, okay, I'm going to like hone in on this one thing and I'm just going to get passionate about, not even like it's almost like things that choose you, like you just sort of vibe with it. And I think Telly's always been that way for me because it's like this never ending thing, and people were like, oh, you've been doing this forever. You're so good or whatever. Like, but I mean, there's always something to learn. And it makes me wonder if like, as a younger guy, I mean, you're still 21, right?
22.
Ooh, 22. You're a young man. I mean, is anything your dad's saying kind of resonate? Or because it almost, yeah, like you said, skiing with the boys from the shop. I mean, that's like almost like an intense brotherhood in a way, because it's like you got to keep up.
Oh yeah. No, I think it definitely has some connections there with, I mean, like you said, the history and why we do it. I mean, I've always kind of liked things where people ask why you do them. Like, why do you do that? Or like, why do you ski weird? Or why do you drive that car that you drive? Or, I mean, it goes to everything. Why do you fly fish when you can go throw power bait in the pond and catch catfish? Is always like, I mean, it's cooler this way. And that's always kind of been to me, is I like that uniqueness of it, of being different, and really just striving with that is kind of, for me, is what makes it fun. And yeah, I mean, the people around it too it is a family here, and that's kind of been fun to find that where, I mean, we all have the same common interest, and it is that turn. So
yeah, no, that's I think that's always been a big part of it, is like, no matter where, like you're talking about your friend Pete, or, you got the guys at the shop, I think there's this unspoken bond by like, everyone has paid their dues to kind of learn this thing, and everyone's kind of there to like lift you up. That's why it's so cool, because you can go to any mountain, and if you see someone even at a different level, chances are somebody's gonna like, hey, you want to take a run?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they might ditch you at some point, but at least they're like gonna take a run and give you a couple tips, and there's sort of like this unspoken friendship just because of the gear you're on, and that kind of got, I mean, I think the cool thing about you, Miles, is yeah, so you end up, I guess, to kind of come full circle, you end up working here. I think your dad thought he was going to get the first job because he was already saying, hey, dude, this is like the second year. He's like, you need anybody to mount skis or something? I feel like you asked me that at one point, and I was like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tay posted a thing. I was like, we need a guy. So I was talking to my dad. I was like, I don't know. This is like 30-minute drive. I was like, I don't really know. I've only been doing it for a little bit. And it was like, I remember sending in my resume to Tay, and I was all nervous. I was like, oh, I'm not getting the job. And my phone rings like 10 minutes later.
Oh, was it that fast?
It was like, yeah, like 10, 15 minutes. And Tay called me. He's like, hey, bro, you want to come in this week and talk to me? I was like, sure, let's do it. So
that's funny.
But yeah, I mean, definitely cool to be here after see kind of where I am now compared to where I was just only a couple years ago. So
yeah, well, and that's part of why I wanted to have you on the podcast is, you start, this is season 3, you're going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And you started out as the shipping guy.
Yep.
Which we were joking around about this the other day, because in the early couple years when your dad came in, we wouldn't actually let people talk up front. We only let me and Taylor and Ashley talk up front.
My first year it was like that.
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about that. Like, we were like, you're the shipping guy. Like, no matter what, if someone asks you questions, like, you find somebody that's allowed to talk in the front, which is kind of funny to think about, because we didn't want anybody to like just spew a bunch of BS to somebody. So we were kind of worried, But, and then last year, Yeah, you were still shipping last year at the beginning.
Yeah, like the first probably half of it.
Yep. And then you started working up front, and now we're going to be promoting you to the shop manager. So you're actually taking Taylor's position.
Yep.
And that's some big shoes to fill, man.
Big shoes to fill from Mr. Taylor Johnson, that's for sure.
Filling the Telemark boots there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, and I'm really excited about that. That's it's been pretty cool to watch, you be around, and I think Tay's done a really good job. I mean, I think even thinking back to the beginning, kind of handing the reins to him up front, and now to see that you're going to have that opportunity, and we were just talking about it, you're going to be taking over the Lowdown.
Yep.
Which is the YouTube kind of program, I guess, you're doing every week for the shop manager position. You guys just shot your first one today.
Yep.
How'd it go?
It went great.
Yeah.
A little shaky up front, but I think it will come with time. Like you said, big shoes to fill, and Tay's videos, he's pretty talented on that stuff, but I got the Jedi Master teaching me the ways, so
sweet.
Things should go smooth.
I'm looking forward to it, man. It's cool that you're going to be doing those. So you're going to have to be at Telemiles, I guess.
Yeah, something maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. No, that's funny. So let's see. Yeah, I guess is that one's coming out probably by the time this podcast comes out. It's coming out
probably
a couple days after. So make sure to check out the YouTube channel for Miles' debut doing the lowdown.
On the lowdown. Yep.
I love it. What are you guys going to be talking about?
This week we talked about the protector skis, actually.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
So, yeah, we kind of showed the first kind of preview of the 99% finished product downstairs. So
oh, sweet.
Kind of cool to see them all ready to go, and yeah, people on the YouTube will be able to see them first. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, and you actually helped build those, man. I mean, you guys that were around this summer, I mean, you were bending edge, and I mean, you've been around a number of the processes. I mean,
yeah, I mean, pretty much seen almost all of them. Definitely gained a few blisters and calluses from bending edge. That first couple days, those were some long days bending, but it's good. Yeah, it's fun to see all the process, and I mean, yeah, built right here in the shop makes them pretty cool. So
yeah, for sure. I think it's been cool seeing you guys have a hand in that, and I think it'll be really cool to see people actually skiing on them, and knowing that we all built them together. Literally, I mean, we built a ski shop or a ski manufacturing center. I don't know. A factory. That's crazy. I can't believe that. But yeah, that's pretty wild. What do you think of that, Justin? I mean, that's pretty wild. You walk in, somebody tells you to come to the shop. Now your kid's running the shop.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect kind of retirement plan I've got going on. So
I know
if everything works out good, it'll come full circle for me. So
I love that.
No, it's great. It's Miles brought it up. It's like family here. You guys, have a common thread. You guys are tight. You're bonded, and I think those skis are one more level of this place that's coming together. It's fun to watch. It's fun to shoot Miles a text every once in a while and see how the grind's going.
Yeah,
we talk a lot. Me and my two boys, we have our kind of our thing, and part of that's the hustle and the grind, and it's something that you hope your kids understand, and they don't fight too hard back on some of that. And I've been lucky enough to have two boys just jump in and go, and they see that pay off, and they see the fruits of their labors, if you want to say. Nothing comes easy. You work hard, and it's been fun to watch. It's been a fun thing to watch these, the YouTube videos, the lowdowns, just following Instagram, the used tele gear you do. I mean, you still got the market. I think you're closing in on being the guy in the U.S. for that. So the only thing I would probably add is, it's going to be nice. Maybe some more 75 mil stuff will show up on that lowdown. So.
That's actually that's funny. I was going to bring that up because I think Miles, you've had some people actually bring that up, right? Like they think you're like anti-NTN or something.
I can't remember who I talked to on the phone, but he was like, "Who am I speaking with?" I was like, "Miles at the shop." He's like, "You're the kid that only skis 75." I was like, "What?" No, I'm on both, and I have both, and he's like, "Well, all the photos I see on the Instagram, you're on your old setups." I was just kind of like, I love my old stuff, and that's, I think it kind of goes back to my dad kind of teaching me and kind of getting on those first couple skis and boots, and it's fun to have that 75, and the 75 content. Me and Tay kind of joked about it. Is he made his 75 millimeter dead low down, and I might have to do a response to it from the new one.
Oh, there you go.
We'll see. So, but I think I definitely have more 75 millimeter boots than NTN boots.
You got doubles of a 27 and a white T-Race that I'm putting my Justin's shaking his head.
He has boots. He has boots on boots. This kid.
I know you've kind of become a collector, which is.
They have a little collection going.
You're not quite the Nate Quiver collector yet.
Not on skis. Skis I can ski any ski, but I have to have the boots.
Yeah.
Or really, if I have any boot, I can make any ski work. So
yeah. So yeah. I'm still.
But I do have a couple of them.
Well, we were talking before the podcast, and I think this is what's always interesting. And Justin, you brought it up. It's funny, you guys. I guess so. You started like 6 years ago. Like when the shop opened, so probably 6 years ago, and you're like 4 years in. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about you digging up an old article from, what was it, Skiing Magazine or
somewhere?
Something?
Yeah, I don't think it was Powder Ski Magazine or one of these
from like 1999.
Yeah, the article was 99.
And tell the people what it said, or the gist of it, I guess.
Well, it was one of those. I guess how could I frame this? It was. On some of these other podcasts, and the lowdown, it's this dead talk. There's all these little interesting dead pieces to this telly, and it was this. I wish I had the guy's name. I apologize, but it was in 1999, and it was this editor, giving his kind of commentary on that. Telly is now dead. It's officially, it was this hippie thing in the 70s and 80s, and it's now not gonna.
It's not going to survive.
It's not going to survive. It's dead, and you can find a lot of that kind of stuff on, I think, on the web. The interesting part of that was 1999.
Year I was born.
So Miles, they're talking about this telly being dead, and now my son is, lucky enough to be in a shop that's dedicated their whole existence to Telemark.
That's pretty cool. So, and that's what I was saying before we started the podcast. Is it's funny that you guys are in this, you're working here, Miles, and you've been one of my customers literally since the beginning. And if you go back before, it's just funny that that's still actually a thing. Telemark is dead. And I was saying before we started that's probably literally going to be forever. We'll probably cycle every 10, 15 years. People will be like, nope, Telemark's for sure dead. 75 millimeter, it's for sure dead. NTN's dead. I wonder what happens when NTN dies. What happens next? I don't know.
NTN's dead. That's
dead.
my shirt idea.
We joke. Miles and I joke a lot because I don't own one piece of NTN equipment.
There's a reason for that, right? Little known fact is you cannot actually get a 32 Mondo boot in NTN.
Yes. One part of that is the boot size is a bit of a problem, but I like to not blame the boot. I'm sure Scarpa would build me my one-off boot if I had to, right?
We all can hope.
The 75, and that's one thing with Miles. I threw him right on some T2s.
The T2s, they were like 2 or 3 sizes too big.
Yeah, too big. 75 cable. We're going for it, and he gets, fast forward a little bit, and he's like, you step in, Dad, you got this, you're old, it takes me a little bit to get those, cables on. I love the cable part of me is in I won't give that up. And part of that is because that to me is why one of the pieces of why I ski tele is I like that, people talk about the feel and this, and to me, it just gives me that little bit of connection back to, having that around your boot.
Like the roots of it?
Like having that, you read that, Norheim stuff and that's some of that, right? It's some of those pieces. So is that Miles still to this day tries to convince me, I think I had some skis or something worked on, and I think I'd skied a week or two in some NTN stuff. I got I think some rentals or something from you a while ago, and that's just one piece of me to me I liken it to Jeeps, and you're not going to have a good classic Jeep without a new Jeep.
So it's like a CJ7 versus like a Wrangler.
You need that newer stuff.
Is that what we're saying?
To give you that appreciation for hand crank windows.
Oh.
And when you start falling in love with that hand crank window, you don't need heated seats. You don't need, lane assist. You want a manual Jeep.
That's an interesting analogy. I had never even thought about that. So you got maybe a Willys is like traditional tele gear, leather boots, and then you got you've got 75 millimeters like CJ5, CJ7, and then you got Wrangler as like NTN.
And it's so funny because the Jeep guy is not saying that the CJ5 is dead. None of that dead talk comes up in
that's a good
classic cars. It's a classic car. To me, a 75 is it gives me that piece that I'm looking for. I'm looking for that piece. Not they don't make them anymore, or it's a different type or style. That's the nuance for me.
That's super interesting. I've never heard that analogy. That actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so it's kind of like an emotional connection to it almost, or just like a connecting piece to the history of it.
It's where you are. I think a bit of it is where you are when you start.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I was lucky enough to get a brand new set of the largest T races you could get. Like the year
that was the last year
committed was the last year you could buy them.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I think I even got them on some clearance discount.
Yep.
And I kicked myself. I should have bought 2 pairs of those things or 5.
Are you still only on a single pair?
I have those. Bootmaster here across Miles. He tracked down some candy canes for me. So I've got.
Oh, you got a candy cane?
I got a candy cane T race.
Oh.
And then I do have just a sweet pair of leather Merrills.
Oh yeah. That's right. I remember.
So those are the
14s.
And yes, stamped. And those are the 3 pairs of boots I have.
Wow.
But yeah, no, and so we talk about this in NTN, this that. We'll get to the point where that might be just the tele talk, and then there's this other piece. But how much fun do we have? Throwing Finn on a set of sick birds with the hammerheads.
Finn. We got Finn into it, which is cool. It's gone 3 now generations, I guess.
Is Finn your brother? Is he?
Yep.
Is he? Not that I'm saying Finn your brother, so people know who Finn is.
Yeah. Yep.
You're like, yep, that's my brother.
You are correct.
You are correct. Is he telemarking all the time now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
No boots. No. Same deal with him. I got the same. Some of these deals with the boys are consistent, and one of those is if you're skiing, you're gonna throw your other shit away. You're not gonna get any alpine stuff.
That's effective. I like that.
So
that's funny.
Yeah, I think that was for me. I was a couple years older when I started than when he started, and he picked it up fast. It was probably 1 or 2 days of him on that gear, and he was keeping up Lincoln turns.
Wow.
Picked it up quick, and I mean, really, he can ski anything that I ski up at Snow Basin with him, which is super cool.
I think it's easier when you're younger. Mm-hmm. I really do, and that's what kind of the disservice of Telemark is. I don't think a lot of younger people come in contact with it or have equipment. Yeah, that's actually really cool. I think if we got younger people in, it'd be a lot better. It'd grow a lot faster. But
yep.
But that's interesting. That's a cool. I'm glad you brought that up because, I mean, I feel what you're saying. I mean, that's why I like vintage gear. But I agree. It's not just skiing old leather gear that like makes it interesting. It's all the different eras, which I'm not a car guy, but that makes a lot of sense because you get all these different eras and different. I think that's why all the mods and stuff are so interesting. Like you guys are, we've talked about the boot mods. And,
oh yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of right up your alley. I mean, you're a car guy too, but you're not a Jeep guy.
I mean, Telemark links directly to manual transmission in my mind is an automatic transmission better, faster, easier, all that? Oh yeah. Is a manual more fun? Oh yeah. Is teleskiing more fun? Oh yeah.
Which is funny. See, I wouldn't even think that. That's another good analogy because we, your dad and I grew up literally a lot of stuff was manual. I mean,
mom's car was the only thing not manual, right? Everything was manual.
I had to take a driver's test on a stick. I mean, It was like mandatory. Like no one would let you do an automatic. I mean, at least my parents were like, nope, and they like put you on a hill. They're like, okay, like go, and you're stalling out, and you had to figure it out. But that makes a lot of sense in terms of use. And I think people, I mean, manual transmissions. I mean, they make up like, I think I saw a statistic. It was like 3% of all cars.
Oh
now.
Yeah, it's like 3 to 7% or something.
Yeah, you have to like special order manual cars. That's interesting. I wonder. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, maybe that's just how the world is. I mean, everyone's just looking for an easier way to do it. I
mean, yeah, I think the manual thing's a great way to look at it. I mean, I have fun driving my car and I have fun skiing because of the two versions of it, manual car and Telemark setup. So
yeah, you're not a Jeep guy though.
Not as much as my dad.
You're a Subaru. I don't even understand the Subaru thing either. All the modifications and aftermarket parts and stuff.
Like you said, linking it to the boot mods though, that was kind of my fun dive in last year. If you look closely on the Instagram, there's a couple photos of my boots that have different buckles, and they actually have T-Race candy cane buckles on them now. Was kind of my mod I did last year, but I think it's always kind of personalizing it to yourself, and that's another thing that makes Tele kind of cool is you have so many options for boots and skis and spring tension and all that stuff. So
yeah, no, for sure. I think honestly, if they could come up with a boot that you could buy a lot of aftermarket parts for, I think they would crush it.
Oh yeah,
because people would buy them. I mean, people do. I mean, just the fact that we have parts for stuff, and you guys are modding stuff. I mean, we did a whole sips and tips on telemarkskier.com about boot mods. I mean, and we were talking about that Telemark Undead. I mean, people are doing some weird stuff.
Oh yeah, there's some crazy mods for sure. I mean, Nate's a great example of some crazy mod ideas that he has for boots because he wants the blue boot, so he's going to take a women's TX Pro and do a cuff swap and all that fun stuff. So
that's so, yeah. Well, maybe that's the future is maintaining some of that stuff. Well, what else, you guys? I love it. That was a good talk.
Yeah.
See, that just burns by. I told you guys it would go quick.
By.
I'm glad you guys were here. It's really cool to thank you, Justin, for coming in and being one of our first customers and shooting the shit with me for hours on end.
Oh yeah,
to fill the time in the early days.
I remember those when you would, before I got the bug, is we'd be here in the shop for like 2 hours. I was like, Dad, I'm hungry. We've been here since like 4:30. It's like 8. The shop's closed and we're still here. What are we doing?
That's so
and it's
funny.
definitely cool to see the different shop versions of, how different it is downstairs even from when we would first come in and the gear would be upstairs and all that's different now. It's pretty cool. So
Yep. Your dad's done a good job. I'm glad you're a hard worker, and congrats on being the shop manager, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So everybody come in, see Miles, and check him out on the lowdown this week. And thanks for being here, you guys.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Such a great conversation with those two guys. And I love that we've got the father-son duos happening on the podcast occasionally. It's always fun to kind of see that passing on of the turn, getting people stoked. Sounds like I kind of got them locked in under other circumstances. Like you got to get rid of your alpine gear in order to do this properly. So, but super fun too, because Justin's one of those guys that I met early on at the shop, as we spoke about, and I can't thank those people enough, because it's fun to look back and those fewer people that were coming in at that point. It's been a really cool story to build friendships and get to know people, and their support is what got us here today. So the fact that Miles is now the shop manager this year, I'm really excited to see sort of that whole evolution of friendship between all of us, and to see him taking over an important role here at the business. And I know he's going to do a great job. So I wish him all the luck, and I'm stoked to see what he can do down there. So make sure to say hello to him on October 9th when you come in, and give him a nice pat on the back. He's done a great job of getting to that position. So as always, the best way to stay in touch is sign up for the mailing list at the link in the show notes. We love staying in touch with everybody and letting everyone know what's going on in Freeheel Life world, in terms of Freeheel Life shop, what's going on social media, what new content's out, what's new on telemarkskier.com, and we're super excited for that. Also, you can connect with us all over the internet. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel or Instagram or Facebook, these are all places you can get a hold of us. There's also a great forum over on telemarkskier.com that we've been getting going and kind of moving a bunch of the conversation over there. So we hope you'll check it out. So all the important ones I give you every week: shop at freeheellife.com. As new stuff comes in, that's where we want to send you to go, answer your questions, share our expertise about the most beautiful turn on snow. Telemarkskier.com. Please become a subscriber, support. And that's a great way to get your information on all the gear, reviews, and more. And you can always reach out to me directly at podcast@freeheellife.com. Thanks for listening, everybody. I love all you Freeheel Lifers out there, and I can't wait to get back next Monday. Same time, same place, and we'll get another one done. So until next week, spread Telemark always, my friends. Peace out.